Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, June 10th, and I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, so go there right away because here are the news stories from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. On the anniversary of his slaying, the family and friends of a man killed last year remain hopeful that his killer will be found. Lauren Red Elk, 56, was found with massive head trauma in the parking lot of Duffy's Tavern in Pocatello, Idaho on June 14, 2009. Doctors removed him from life support 3 days later. Jeannie Wallish, his girlfriend, told the Idaho State Journal that she wants to make sure Red Elk, a gentle giant of a man in her words, doesn't become another cold case. Red Elk, a Sioux from Poplar, Montana, worked as a bouncer at Duffy's, an unpretentious club in the historic Union Pacific Railroad town of Pocatello. Minutes after he left for the night, he was found on the asphalt, his head bashed in. No arrests were made, and police ruled his death a homicide. As the anniversary of Red Elk's passing approaches, Wallish says a tribute at Duffy's and a formal event in Red Elk's Montana Reservation hometown are planned. She'll travel to Poplar, Montana for the formal wiping of the tears ceremony in her remembrance. The Timbisha Shoshone tribe filed a lawsuit June 10th to stop an act of Congress that they say threatens to take a fund of their money belonging to the Timbisha Shoshone and the Western Shoshone Nation as a whole. The lawsuit against the Secretary of the Interior and the Secretary of the Treasury seeks to overturn an act of Congress called the Western Shoshone Claims Distribution Act, which will confiscate a judgment fund belonging in part to the Timbisha Shoshone of the Western Shoshone Nation and distribute the fund to individuals according to rules created by Congress. This act of Congress takes the Timbisha Shoshone's funds without due process or compensation and violates the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, according to their representatives. The Timbisha Shoshone, not Congress, should be the one to decide how the money is being used, said Robert Courte, Executive Director of the Indian Law Resource Center and lead counsel in this lawsuit. Congress believes that it can do as it pleases with the property and funds of Indian nations, including taking property and funds without any compensation. This is obviously wrong, and it hurts all Indian nations, he said. 2 Anchorage residents have admitted threatening and intimidating an Alaska native in which eggs and other objects were thrown at him. 19-year-old Robert Bruce Gum pled guilty June 8th in federal court in Anchorage. Co-defendant Deanna Angelina Scaglione, who made a video recording of the attack she posted on YouTube, has also pled guilty to the civil rights case. Prosecutors say 21-year-old Scaglione was driving a car in Anchorage last July and Gum was riding in the front passenger seat when they spotted a native man. According to statements captured on the video, Gum and Scaglione were downtown egging natives. As Scaglione drove and operated the video recorder, Gum threw other objects and threatened the man. Sentencing is going to be set for September 2nd. The latest effort to save North America's largest freshwater fish from extinction begins this week when water is spilled over a dam in the western state of Montana to encourage the ancient fish to spawn for the first time in more than 3 decades. The wild Kootenai River White Sturgeon, a toothless beast from the days of dinosaurs, has a large head, armor-like scales, and can reach 19 feet long and top 1,000 pounds. It takes 20 to 30 years for the white sturgeon to mature and reproduce. An isolated population of the bottom-feeding fish still live along a stretch of the Kootenai that passes through Montana, Idaho, and British Columbia, Canada. The construction of Libby Dam in 1974 stopped the river from flooding Bonners Ferry, Idaho, but also prevented the high water flows that triggered the sturgeon to move upriver and spawn. Before the dam, there was an estimated 10,000 Kootenai sturgeon. Fewer than 500 mature adults of spawning age remain today. Lawmakers in the country's largest American Indian reservation have voted to formally oppose Arizona's tough new immigration law. The Navajo Nation Council voted against the immigration law this Tuesday during a special session in Window Rock, Arizona. Council Delegate Key Allen Begay sponsored the measure. He says he sees the immigration law as an attempt to harass American Indians who can resemble Mexican nationals. The state law requires police to question anyone they suspect is in the country illegally, and it makes it a state crime to be in the United States illegally. Navajo lawmakers came out against a state measure that prohibits classes that advocate ethnic solidarity as well. Begay says the Navajo culture should be respected and protected. One of Alaska's oldest schools is being sold off piece by historic piece in an effort to avoid bankruptcy. The process began with Sheldon Jackson College's abrupt closure 3 years ago in Sitka, Alaska. That has caused divisions in the fishing and tourist community in southeast Alaska. Some want to use the campus and see it left intact, remade perhaps into a tribal or community college. But some school officials and local officials don't see that is possible. Officials instead have been working on what could be their last best option, a proposal by the University of Dubuque in Iowa that centers on the Sheldon Jackson's hatchery, a small corner of the 230-acre campus at the edge of the Pacific Ocean. It also requires the clearing of $1 million more in debt, perhaps by selling more assets yet. Almost 6,800 people hiked to the top of the Crazy Horse Memorial on the first day of the annual Volksmarch. The two-day hike that was held on June 5th and 6th offers the only chance this year for visitors to walk to the top of the mountain carving. Manny Vangular of Louisville, Kentucky, says he reached Crazy Horse's outstretched arms at the hike's midpoint and got so pumped up that he started running. The Volksmarch is in its 25th year. The 6.2-mile round trip usually attracts up to 11,000 visitors. The most was 50,000 hikers in 1999. Last year, cool weather contributed to a low turnout of 7,273 hikers. A likeness of Lakota Sioux warrior Crazy Horse is being carved into the mountain in an ongoing project that spanned a couple decades now. You can find that at Crazy Horse Memorial at crazyhorsememorial.org. A Minneapolis high school teacher is one of 10 from around the country to win a $4,000 grant for an environmental education project. James Lorenz is a science teacher at Oreilles Center School in Minneapolis. He's getting the grant from the National Environmental Education Foundation to implement a curriculum that aims to connect his American Indian students with their traditional teaching and attitudes toward the environment. Course activities include plant and animal studies, speakers from Indian communities, and outings to Rum River for hands-on learning projects. The National Environmental Education Foundation is supported in part by the Weather Channel. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this issue of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us today. Come back again soon. Come back again sooner. And remember to watch Charlie Hill in IndianCountryTV.com featured channel. It's a brand new show that just put up there for 1 hour. Later.